Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Today we have last topic of chapter number 3, 3.11, projectile motion. So, the definition of projectile motion is the two-dimensional motion motion under the action of gravity is called projectile motion. The two-dimensional motion under the action of gravity is called projectile motion. Suppose if a body is moving in a straight line in one-dimensional motion, so it is one-dimensional motion, it is not a projectile motion. Okay. And in the projectile motion, gravity should be involved. So gravity exists in projectile motion. Okay. It means that any motion which is two-dimensional and gravity exists there, so that is called the projectile motion. Suppose if we have x-axis and y-axis, if we have a football, we kick the football and the football follow this path. So first the football move up, then move down. So this path is called the parabolic path. This path is called the parabolic path, and the motion is called the projectile motion because it is two-dimensional motion. Two-dimensional means it covering the distance along y-axis and it covering the distance along x-axis. So it means it is two-dimensional motion. So for the projectile, two-dimensional is necessary. Two-dimensional means theta should be greater than 0 and less than 90. So look at this angle. This angle is greater than 0 and less than 90. So this means that the motion of projectile should be two-dimensional motion. Remember, if gravity exists, so gravity exists, so I label the gravity as vertical force. Gravity is a force which is acting in vertical direction. What does it mean? It means that if a body moves horizontally, so gravity will not affect its horizontal motion. So horizontal velocity will be constant in case of gravity. So gravity is not changing the horizontal component of velocity. So the horizontal component will be same. But if a body is moving, this is mass m, it is moving down. So gravity will increase the velocity. So gravity will change Vy, the component, vertical component of velocity. Suppose if a body is moving up, so gravity will decrease this velocity. So it means that gravity change the vertical velocity. So it means if gravity change the Vy means vertical component of velocity. So it means gravity will produce vertical acceleration, that is called g, ay. But the horizontal acceleration in case of gravity will be 0 because the horizontal component is constant in the presence of gravity. Remember, there is no air resistance. If there is no air resistance in projectile motion, it means that the horizontal velocity will be constant in case of air resistance and the vertical velocity will be constant in case of air resistance. So it means that there will be no horizontal acceleration and no vertical acceleration in case of air resistance. Okay. So gravity and air resistance are two forces. So if gravity exists, it means that the horizontal acceleration will be 0, horizontal velocity will be constant, and the vertical velocity will be changing, vertical acceleration will be produced. But in case of no air resistance, the horizontal velocity and vertical both velocities are constant, horizontal acceleration, both vertical acceleration will be 0. Okay. So as a whole, if we consider both forces, so we will observe that in both the cases, horizontal velocity is constant in case of gravity and horizontal velocity will be constant in case of no air resistance. So it means that in the whole projectile motion, the horizontal velocity will be constant throughout the projectile motion. Okay, now look at here. In case of gravity, the vertical velocity is changing, but here in case of air resistance, the vertical velocity is constant. So as a whole, if we discuss, so we will say that the vertical velocity is changing in projectile motion. Vertical acceleration will produce, that is called g, due to gravity. So vertical velocity will be changed, vertical acceleration will produce due to gravity. Okay. So in whole projectile motion, horizontal velocity will be constant and the vertical velocity will variable. Okay. For example, if we throw a ball up and it follows two-dimensional motion like here, like that. So look at here. This point is called point of projection. This point, this highest point is called the summit point. This point, which is a little bit up than the ground, that is called the point of impact. Point of impact. Okay. At the initial point, the velocity is vi. The velocity is vi. Okay. Look at the diagram. This is the projectile motion. So the velocity at this point is vi. So look at the diagram. This velocity is vi. It makes an angle theta. If it makes an angle theta, so we have to resolve this velocity into two components, viy and vix. So this velocity has two components, viy and vix. So what is vix? Vi cos theta. What is viy? Vi sin theta. Okay. Now, the velocity at this point is called the final velocity. The velocity at this point is called the initial velocity or the velocity of projection. The velocity here is called the final velocity. So this velocity is called the final velocity. It is also two-dimensional velocity. So we have to resolve this velocity into two components. So one is called vfx, the other is called vfy. Okay. So we resolve this vf into two components, vfx and vfy. So what is vfx? Vfx is equal to vix plus axt. So remember, there is no horizontal acceleration in projectile motion. So if there is no horizontal acceleration, so it means that vix and vfx both are equal. It means that horizontal velocity, horizontal initial velocity and final vertical horizontal velocities are same. So horizontal and final velocities are same. It means that the horizontal velocity is constant in the projectile motion at each and every point. At each and every point, the horizontal component of velocity is always constant. Now talk about vfy. So vfy is equal to viy plus ayt. Okay. Now look, the body is moving up. If the body is moving up, so negative acceleration is produced. So that is called minus g. The negative acceleration is called minus g. So this is the vertical final velocity. It is a function of t. It is a function of t. It means as the time increasing, the vertical component of velocity decreasing because it is subtracting. If the time increasing, this value is increasing, so it is subtracting from viy. So it means that the final velocity is decreasing. So the final velocity is decreasing, decrease, 0. So the final velocity will be 0 at the summit point. At the summit point. So if someone asks you why the final vertical velocity will be 0 at the summit point, so you would answer that due to the gravitational force. Due to the gravitational force, the final vertical component of velocity will be 0 at the summit point because gravity continuously attracted the body. Gravity continuously attracted the body and the body goes up and moving slow down and doing slow down and stop. So at the summit point, the velocity, vertical component of velocity will become 0, while the horizontal component is constant at each and every point. Okay. If I talk about the slope, so slope means Slope means tangent theta, or slope means perpendicular by base. So perpendicular is VFY and base is VFX. So remember, VFY is going to decrease and VFY is going to is constant. So it means that if it is going to decrease and it is constant, so the ratio will be minimum. So it means that if the body is moving up, so the slope will be minimum, the slope will be decreasing, and if the body is moving down, the slope will be increasing. Okay, now if we talk about the total velocity, so remember, total velocity is equal to Vfx square plus Vfy square under root. This is Pythagoras theorem. So what is Vfx? Vfx is equal to Vix square. And what is Vfy? Vfy is Viy minus gt whole square. Okay, this is the total final velocity. Now, I'm going to find the maximum height of projectile. The maximum height of the projectile. Height means the vertical distance covered. What is meant by height? Height means the vertical distance covered. Okay, suppose we have a projectile motion. Look at here. So this vertical distance is called height, this vertical distance is called height, this vertical distance is called height, this vertical distance is called height. So these are all heights, but this height is called the maximum height. It means the vertical distance covered up to the summit point is called the maximum height. So according to third equation of motion, 2a is equal to vf square minus vi square. So remember, height is a vertical distance covered. So we will use the vertical components. So 2ay, sy, vfy, viy. So we will use the vertical components. So if the body is moving up, so there will be negative acceleration will produce minus g, and sy means h. Sy mean height. And what is Vfy at the summit point? At the summit point, Vfy is always 0. And what is Viy? Viy is equal to Vi sine theta whole square. Okay, so it will be minus 2gh, it will be minus Vi square sine square theta. Okay, minus minus will be cancelled and divided 2g on both sides. So it will be Vi square sine square theta divided by 2g. This is the maximum height of the projectile. This is the maximum height of the projectile. Okay, now we are going to find the time of flight of projectile. Okay, the time of flight. Time of flight means the time from the point of projection to the summit. The time of flight means the time taken of projectile from the point of projection to the point of impact. From the point of projection to the point of impact. That total time taken is called the time of flight. Okay. Suppose if the body is moving from the point of projection to the point of impact, this total time is called the time of flight. Okay. Use second equation of motion. Second equation of motion is Vi t plus half at square. Okay, now remember, when the body is moving up, so it covers the vertical distance covered. So we will use vertical components sy, viy, ay. So what is sy? Sy is 0 because it moving from 0 displacement and it back towards 0 displacement. So the net displacement is 0. If the net displacement is 0, so we will put sy 0, viy is equal to vi sine theta, and put time as capital T representing time of flight. Okay, and what is ay? Ay is equal to minus g. Ay is equal to minus g. So put okay, look, vi sine theta into capital T plus minus half gt square, minus half gt square. So shift this minus half gt square to right hand side. So it will be half gt square is equal to vi sine theta t. So t and t will be cancelled. So multiplying 2 on both sides. So it will be t is equal to 2 vi sine theta divided by g. This is the total time of flight from the point of projection to the summit point. The point of projection to the point of impact. This total time of flight is 2 vi sine theta divided by g. If you want to find the time of flight from the point of projection to the summit point. So that time is the half time of the total. It is the half time of the total time of flight. So remember, divide the total time by 2. So total time is equal to 2 vi sine theta divided by g. So divide by 2. So 2 will be cancelled. So it will be vi sine theta divided by g. This is called the time to reach the summit point. The time taken from the point of projection to the summit point, this is called the t prime. Okay, this is t prime. Now I want to find the range of projectile. I want to find the range of projectile motion. What is meant by range? Range means the horizontal distance covered. The horizontal distance covered means, suppose this is x-axis, this is y-axis, a body is following projectile motion. So look, the distance between the point of projection, to the point of impact is called range, but the horizontal distance, okay? The horizontal distance covered is called the range. So look, use second equation of motion. So 2s is equal to vit plus half at square. Okay, now remember, range is the horizontal distance covered, so we will use x component, sx, vix, ax. Okay, now what is sx? Sx is actually the range. Vix is equal to vi cos theta. Vix is actually vi cos theta. What is t? T representing total time of flight, plus half ax. What is ax? X0. Why x0? Because horizontal velocity is constant throughout the projectile motion, so it means horizontal acceleration will be 0. So range is equal to vi cos theta into t. What is t? The value of the time of flight is 2 vi sine theta divided by g. Okay, what is vi? Vi is equal to vi square. Okay, so this is the formula for the range. What does this formula means? This formula means this formula consists of sine theta and cos theta. And remember, when the sum of the angle is equal to 90, those angles are called complementary angles. So for complementary angle, the sine and cos value will always be remain the same. For example, sine 30 is equal to cos 60. 30 and 60 both are complementary, so sine and cos will have the same answer. Suppose sine 20 and cos 70 will have the same answer. Why? Because 70 and 20 are complementary angles. Suppose sine 15 and cos 75 will have the same answer. Why? Because both are complementary angle. For the complementary angle, the value of sine and the value of cos will always be remain the same. So if for the complementary angle sine and cos are same, so it means that the range are same. So for complementary angle, the range will always be remains the same. So the question may comes in the entry test that the range is 10 meter at 40 degree. So what is the range at 50 degree? So your answer should be remain the same, 10 meter, because 40 and 50 both are complementary angles, and for complementary angle the range is always the same. Okay, for example, if I show this by a graph, so look at here. Suppose if we drop a body with a 10 degree, so this is 10 degree, and if we throw a body by 80 degree, so both will fall at the same point. So it means that their range will always be remain the same. So the range at 10 degree and 80 degree will be remain the same. So the range at 30 degree and 60 degree will remain same. Okay. So we have another formula in mathematics, that's 2 sine theta cos theta is equal to sine 2 theta. This is another formula in mathematics, in first year mathematics. So putting this formula in this equation, so we will get the another equation for the range, that is r is equal to vi square sine 2 theta. This is the equation for the range. Okay, now if I put theta is 45 degree here. So putting this formula here, putting this value here, so sine 2 into 45 divided by g. So 2 into 45 is actually 90 degree, and sine 90 is maximum 1. So if the sine gives the maximum value, so this range will also be called the maximum range. So this is the maximum range of projectile. So the range of projectile will be maximum at 45 degree only. Remember that. Okay. So this is all about the projectile motion. So we found the time of flight, the maximum height, and the range of projectile. So inshallah you will feel no difficulty in this topic. If you have any query, you can ask in comment section or in WhatsApp group. Okay, thank you. Take care. Allah Hafiz.